So, good evening, everyone. My name is Cavell Hilton. I am a AWE and YLI alum. I'm also the CEO and founder of STEM Builders Learning Hub. I want to thank you all for joining us for the YLI Entrepreneur Scaling Up and Entrepreneurial Journey. This is a three-part virtual speaker series, and it's designed to empower emerging and established entrepreneurs throughout the Western Hemisphere, especially alumni and members of the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, YLI, and Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, or we hope that you will gain practical knowledge, tools, and strategies to address major entrepreneurial challenges, from integrating artificial intelligence and securing funding to building global partnerships and mentoring relationships. Want to remind our audience today that we have language interpretation options available. And if you have questions, feel free to use the chat or our Q&A box. Again, my name is Cavell Hilton. I am a YLI alum and all alum as well as the CEO and founder of STEM Builders Learning Hub. I want to introduce our speakers today. That is Nancy Hayes, who is an angel investor. She's also an American expert and from the US Speaker Program. She's advisor to women entrepreneurs, an executive coach. She focuses on entrepreneurship and management or leadership and has a portfolio of angel investments in more than 30 women-led companies. She regularly consults on leadership, career, and organizational effectiveness, with a special emphasis on coaching women executives. Prior to this role, she served as senior executive in a Fortune 5 corporation. She's also the CEO of two nonprofit organizations, the dean of a large college of business, and CFO of a state university. In 2013, Nancy was co-founder of a rewards-based crowdfunding site for women with small business called Mula Hoop. Wow. So I'm just in awe, of course, of our amazing speaker. All right. I'll also want to introduce our second speaker, Miss Elizabeth Marquez. She's a visionary entrepreneur and an awe fellow. She's also a very accomplished professional whose career reflects a blend of excellence, innovation, and social commitment. A graduate of the Instituto Tecnológico y de Estudios Superiores de Monterrey, ITESM, with a degree in business administration, specializing in finance. Elizabeth has pursued advanced studies in France, international reinsurance, and business management in Mexico and Germany. Her career began at Desmark SA, followed by a decade at Mexico's National Insurance and Bonding Commission, where she earned recognition for her financial acumen and leadership in high impact projects. She later joined ACE Seguros Mexico, rising to regional reinsurance director for Latin America at ACE Insurance Company in the US, where she strengthened strategic relationships across the global insurance sector. So I want to thank our speakers, really accomplished women, both Nancy and Elizabeth. And at this point, I want to ask Miss Nancy to make her short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Cavell, and it's a pleasure joining you, and I congratulate you on being interested in mentorship, because it's one of the most important elements to successful for any entrepreneur, for a successful enterprise. I thought I'd give just a few minutes talking with the overview of mentorship from my point of view. And then we can talk a little bit more detailed as we go on through the program. As Cavell said, I have been working in the field of investing in startups and in women-led companies in particular for now 13 years. I spend full time speaking to entrepreneurs both in the US and around the world. I actually am located in San Francisco, California, in Silicon Valley. I have many mentees, but while I speak to hundreds of entrepreneurs each year and give advice, I don't have hundreds of entrepreneurs as mentees. Mentorship for entrepreneurship is not a new idea. Mentorship has been around forever. There's many examples in the Bible, frankly, of mentorship. And one of the most famous modern mentors is Yoda from Star Wars. So stepping back a little bit on mentorship, I wanted to pull up a brief example of what we're talking about here. And I want to make sure we understand into the conversations with Cavell as we move on, what you're particularly looking for. So let me share my screen a little bit while we talk. And of course, it's not opening. Well, this happens all the time. Bill Gates never gave a demo for Microsoft that didn't fail, and Mark Zuckerberg gave one last week that failed. So, we're in good hands here. It's not pulling up, but let me talk a bit. It was just notes for me. So I want to talk a bit about mentorship. As I said, it's not new. The best mentorships are one-on-one. And there are a lot of mentorship programs, as we'll see, but the best ones are ones that develop naturally over time. Generally, they begin with formal or informal advice from the mentor to the mentee. So I spent 20 years at a major tech company, going up the levels of management in the company and getting very senior over time. It was very common then, maybe a boss or a more senior person that had worked with you that thought you had potential would take an interest in helping you over time. And those were often known as mentors. And before you know it, you would get job opportunities because that mentor had suggested to someone that you'd be good for a role. But generally, you weren't assigned the mentor. It developed over time. And these are the strongest ways of entrepreneurship. And I do want to talk to you about how to do that and how to get the strongest kind of mentorship program. And of course, the richest kind of mentorship program is one that where over time it becomes two-way. In the beginning, you're looking to the mentor for a lot of advice, suggestions, help. And over time, you build a relationship where you can actually give back to the mentor. And this makes the strongest possible bond. How can that be? You're thinking, I'm an entrepreneur, I need help. These people have knowledge. You'd be surprised. For example, one of my entrepreneurs, Ariana, is an expert in aging, Alzheimer's disease, and that's what her startup is about. I have mentored her for about 6 years and seen her through 3 startups in that time, all in the aging field. And what we talk about often is co-founder challenges, how to present to investors. But she's given me advice on an aging parent and how to deal with it over time. Another example, Paige is an entrepreneur. I made a very small investment in Paige's company, but over time, she seeks me out for advice. And this has gone on now for 10 years. And I have been very benefited by the fact that she will often agree to speak to an entrepreneur and share her story for me. So we have a two-way relationship. What are you looking for in a mentor? Someone that expects nothing in return and is supportive of you. The mentor listens, asks questions, identifies for you what's fact and what is my opinion. They are not there to manage or control you, and they're non-judgmental, although they may challenge you. Now, in the entrepreneurship field, particularly in the US, you often hear mentors and advisors. And sometimes those are used interchangeably. But in general, an advisor is someone who's going to help you in a very specific aspect of your company. Perhaps you need help in logistics and they are an expert. Or they may be expert at strategy. And oftentimes advisors expect compensation, either cash, but you likely don't have cash. So oftentimes ownership of the company, either now or in the future. So those are the only distinctions, but you will hear people say mentor and advisor. So as I mentioned, the best mentor and mentee relationships are ones that evolve naturally. However, you will see, and I can give you some examples this evening of programs where you might be assigned a mentor. You have to work very hard there to make sure that relationship goes further if you'd like for it to. And you want to be a good mentee. How do you do that? You respect the mentor's time. You make sure to check with them how much time they have, what they're willing to talk about, and you look for opportunities to be helpful to them. So keep in mind that mentorship is broad, but we do often distinguish the mentor as the non-compensated person who is overall trying to help you no matter what comes out, and you build a long-term relationship with them, where an advisor can be more situational. I mentioned that I have a lot of them and they came up over time. Another one, Christy. She originally contacted me about fundraising and then asked me for a private conversation for help about a co-founder challenge. And now 5 years later, she's at another startup because that co-founder challenge did not work out well for her. And now we're still communicating. I'm going to have some tips how to approach people and build those mentorship, as well as some resources. But I'd love to go on to the next aspect and have you hear from our next speaker at this point.
Unmute, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Could you please help me with the presentation?
And if anyone is able to mention the translation in Spanish and Portuguese, just to make sure everyone is in the right room.
Sí. Con todo gusto, ¿hay alguna oportunidad para que obtengan la información a través del idioma español y portugués? Pueden hacerlo a través de este sistema de Zoom. En los 3 puntitos de abajo hay la opción para estar en español o en portugués. Gracias. Good afternoon.
Se alguém quiser a tradução em português, tem 3 pontinhos embaixo e vocês podem selecionar o idioma português para tradução em português.
Okay, we are ready. Good afternoon, everyone. And the next bit, please. Next slide. It's such a honor to be here with you today Nancy, what a privilege to share this space with you. I deeply admire your experience, and I'm excited about all we can learn from each other. Today, I don't want to give you a rigid lecture. I want to have a conversation, because entrepreneurship is not about perfect formulas or universal manuals. It's about people, about stories, about failures and victories. It's about something that has guided me in every stage of my life: mentorship. Next slide, please. My story, like many of yours, hasn't been a straight line. I started in the world of finance and insurance, surrounded by numbers, risk, and balance sheets. That world gave me discipline, but also taught me that behind every number, there are real people. At Ace Insurance, I was fortunate to meet someone who became more than just a boss. He became a mentor. This leader taught me that it wasn't enough to analyze risks. I had to see opportunities. That true innovation often comes from looking at problems with new eyes. That mentorship became the catalyst that shifted my mindset to think with strategy, to live excellent, not as a distant goal, but as a way of life, and to believe that my voice as a woman and a professional deserve a seat at the table. I know that for many here, finding a mentor can feel impossible, especially in places where there are no formal programs. But let me share something I've learned. The mentor you need is probably already on your path. A mentor doesn't have to be a famous guru or someone unreachable. It could be a colleague, a professor, a client, someone whose story inspires you, someone who doesn't just cheer you on, but also dares to tell you uncomfortable truths, someone who pushes you beyond your comfort zones. And yes, I have both successful and failed mentorships. But even the ones that didn't work left me with lessons. I learned that mentorship is a two-way street. If you want honesty, you need to give honesty. If you want support, you need to be willing to show your vulnerabilities. Real mentorships grows out of trust, transparency, and shared humanity. Next, please. Let me bring you to my present, my venture, Tortipapel. At first, it seems simple, producing food-grade paper for tortillas, meals, food. But with my mentor's guidance, I realized that we weren't just selling paper. We were providing hygiene, food safety, professional image, and efficiency to small tortilla businesses across Mexico and other countries like United States, Central America, and Europe. That perspective took us further. Today, our paper is also a vehicle for social impact. Yes, in partnership with the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, we created an innovative project, food wrapping paper, printed with messages and QR codes linking migrants to official and reliable information. Imagine that, a daily object, something as simple as a tortilla wrapper, becoming a really bright of communication and even a life-saving tool. That's what mentorship can do. It helps you see that business is not only about profit, but also about purpose. Next, please. But even with great mentors, the entrepreneurial path is full of setbacks. Clients you lose, project that fails, sleepless nights, wonder if you made the right choice. That's where the other half of the question comes in, resilience. For me, mentorship is the fuel, but resilience is the engine. Fuel can run out, but the engine keeps you moving forward even when the steepest roads. Resilience doesn't mean not being afraid. It means standing up again and again. even when things look impossible. In my journey with Tortipapel, there were days when I felt we wouldn't survive, but my mentors helped me reframe setbacks, not as a defeat, but as a lessons in disguise. Resilient entrepreneurs act differently. They don't waste energy on what they can't control. They adapt, adjust strategies, and focus on what they can influence. Step by step, obstacle by obstacles. Resilience turns fear into strength. Next, please. Thank you. Mentorship and resilience, turning lessons into action. We can see in this slide, first of all, meeting a mentor who shaped your mindset, then seeking mentorship in unexpected places. Next step, transforming business into a vehicle for social or ecological impact. And the resilience, it means standing up stronger every time life knocks you down. Next. And I have an invitation to Rolf. So let me leave you with 3 key ideas, for me very important. First one, mentorship is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Find that voice that gives you perspective, that walks with you, that challenges you. The second, setbacks are not failures, they are lessons. Every misstep teaches you something you will need later. And the last one, resilience grows like a muscle. The more you face challenges, the stronger you become. Next. Today, I invite you to see mentorship as the fuel that propels you, and resilience as the engine that keeps you going. Together, they are the unbeatable combination that turns dreams into reality, businesses into missions, and entrepreneurs into leaders with impact. Friends, we are not alone on this journey. One day, you too will become a mentor and a source of inspiration for someone else. So let's keep moving forward with courage. Let's share what we have learned, and let's build a future where every venture doesn't just create wealth, but also hope. Because mentorship and resilience are not just concepts. They are the fuel and the engine that will take us wherever we want to go. Thank you very much.
Hello, Cavell. It looks like you might be having difficulty communicating with us. So I'll just move on, and then when you can get on, we can take the conversation there. I pulled up, and I hope you can see it. What I hope are some practical suggestions for, okay, you've heard these great talk from Elizabeth, the importance of mentorship. How do you find these people? Whether it's a one-shot mentorship, as I say, some people do it, or somebody you want to build a relationship over time. We had some comments that many people said, well, in our geography, we don't have these programs. How are we going to do this? It's all about building your network. And oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, you're not sure that people can help you, but you'd be surprised how much the average business person can help you. So it's building your network.
I'm sorry, Nancy.
Yes, go ahead.
All I see is like a link to mentorship, and it shows your docx. However, I pulled up the websites that are on that sheet. If you want to take that down, and I have
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
that I have like Latino Business Mass Challenge. I
Sure,
have,
on page 2 of that 3-page
Yeah.
thing,
yeah. So let me know, which one did you want me to put up?
the page 2
Um,
says LinkedIn.
pull up the LinkedIn one. Okay, one sec. Okay, one sec. And you said it's on page 2, the LinkedIn one, the LinkedIn groups.
Yes, there's a page, sorry, it's showing for me, but it's obviously not showing on the screen. Let me just talk through it for everybody, and
Sorry about that.
I will send you a link right now in the chat to everyone that has my material in it. And therefore at your leisure, you can look at it. I'm talking in general about how to reach out to people you don't know to try to build your network that is going to help you build your business. And as I was saying, that a lot of people are concerned because their local community, they don't feel has anybody named a mentor. But people don't self-identify themselves as mentors. You have to go find people who can help you build your business. So the most important thing is, what do you need? What do you need now? And what do you need in the future? And make sure that you're prepared when people ask you to do that. So on the page I sent you, I talk about using LinkedIn, the tool, as one of your most important things to do in building an entrepreneur network. I always suggest that after you meet someone, or if you're approaching someone for the first time, sending a connection request, please send a note. And that note should be very short, and it should say why you want to connect. If you've recently met the person, remind them. We met at the meeting yesterday and we talked about this, would love to connect. If you don't know them, it's more important than ever that you have a short note that shows, 1, you've researched me. 2, there's something about me that interests you. And 3, there's a reason why you'd like to connect. Don't connect with someone, a blind connection request. It's not going to do anything for you. And don't say a generic, I see we have lots of connections in common, let's connect. Join LinkedIn groups. Because when you join a group on LinkedIn relevant to your company and what your company does, you are by definition connected to the other members of that group, and you can start interacting. So one of the most important things to get somebody's attention, as I will say over and over again, is let them know there's a reason specifically why you want to connect. People will often start off with, hope you're well. Well, we're strangers. You really don't hope I'm well. Start with something more engaging. And keep in mind, I have a new company. It's doing X, very short. Don't tell me the whole story of your life or your company. I'd love to get your advice. People are flattered by asking for advice. It's often said, if you ask for money, you get advice. And if you take ownership of the meeting, you suggest, hey, I'd like 15 minutes of your time. It doesn't sound so scary. I can do it Thursday afternoons or Friday afternoons between these times. All this makes it easier for the person to say yes or no. And if they say no to something, they're more likely to suggest another time. So I give you some suggestions there, but I wanted to start before I toss it back over to Elizabeth, is some things for you to click on at your leisure of examples of US mentorship program, many of which are open to entrepreneurs like you. One is called Mass Challenge. What they do is allow you to join their program. They do not take any ownership of your company and don't charge a fee. And they have a number of mentors available in different fields that you should look at it, even if you don't join it. An example for Spanish-speaking business owners in the US is the LBAN, the Latino Business Action Network. Take a look at that. Follow them. Many of their mentors who speak Spanish would be very willing to talk to you, particularly if their field of interest is in your field of interest. There's a fantastic US Department of Commerce program called Select USA, which specifically has a tech program in it for tech founders, male and female, but it also has a Global Women in Tech program, again, free to join, and they provide mentorship programs. Accelerators, you may have many that you're working with. One of the most well-known is TechStars. TechStars is very focused on making sure you have a mentor, the kind of person I talked about before, who is not going to ask you for consulting money, who is not going to ask for ownership of the company, who is there to help and support you. It's very big in their philosophy. There are even programs like Bay Brazil, which is a Silicon Valley club for Brazilian entrepreneurs who are in Silicon Valley. You may not be in Silicon Valley, but you can follow them and get to know many of these members. Lastly, I think you should sign up for a free weekly email from Gary's guide, which I gave you in the link. And that lists all kinds of things happening in the US, luckily, mostly by Zoom now, since COVID, that are interest to you and may be great ways of finding advisor mentors. I'm going to pause there to see if Cavell can join us and to turn it back over to Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy. Those were some incredible tips that you shared with us just now. I especially love the parts that you shared in terms of, what to look for in a mentor, in terms of, someone that doesn't necessarily want anything in return. They do not want to share of your company, but they want to give you advice. I also loved what you shared about using your LinkedIn profile and how to really approach someone that you encounter on LinkedIn that you may want to become your mentor. That is especially important because many times persons will just send a message, something generic, or they will just say something like, oh, can you be my mentor? You inspire me, without doing any research. And so I thought that those tips that you mentioned are so important for entrepreneurs like myself, as well as for young people, how really to approach in terms of getting a mentor. I also loved what you mentioned about, mentorship being mutually beneficial. You are also achieving something. It may not be monetary. You may not have something as an entrepreneur. You may not have money to offer, but you may have something else like your mentee that you mentioned about giving you advice on aging. And so that is so important that we all understand that we have strengths, we have something that we can take to the table, and we approach mentorship as being mutually beneficial and as being something that will not be forced, but will grow organically. I think those points were essential in what you just said. And I want to follow up on that by asking you a question. Hope you're ready for that one. So you mentioned that you have mentored, so many entrepreneurs, but specifically you are mentoring, you've given them advice, you've spoken to them, you've done angel investing and all of that. Did you have a mentor? Did any mentor play a part in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, I've had a number of mentors, and some of them were ex-bosses, and some of them were just people I had worked with. But I made it a point to stay in touch with people who'd been helpful, just casually, and that has really helped me. If I hadn't talked to somebody, for advice 4 years, and now I have a job opportunity, but I have sent the holiday greeting. I have occasionally checked in to see how they're doing, how the family's doing. So we've kept up the relationship. And that's been extremely valuable and frankly rewarding, because this ends up being people that you really value in your life. And I have had many. The one I remember the most is my first time being a manager of people. Obviously, being a good Catholic girl, I worked very hard, and the mentor one time said Brenda was my sales rep, and she was on vacation, and I was working very, very hard to make sure she made her sales numbers. And the mentor said to me, "Why are you doing Brenda's job?" And that stuck with me in my career for 35 plus years since then, whenever I've been in management. The one thing I had to learn was not to do their job. So,
Wow, that's so important. I want to ask Elizabeth the same question as well. So, Elizabeth, how has mentorship played a role in your entrepreneurial journey?
Voy a contestar en español porque hay mucha gente que está pidiendo contestar en español. La mentoría es la base del éxito de un negocio. Es indispensable que cada uno de nosotros consideremos que es mejor estar acompañado en un camino hacia el éxito que irlo solo, que llevarlo solo. Desde el principio uno tiene la idea, pero tiene que saber construirla y ser soportada por alguien más que tenga una visión todavía más amplia que la de nosotros, y más como una mujer emprendedora. Después de toda mi carrera universitaria profesional de más de 25 años, decidí realizar un nuevo esquema de desarrollo emprendedor, mujer emprendedora. Y entonces ahí es donde verdaderamente el reto se aplica. Cuando uno inicia, identifica hacia dónde va, cuál va a ser la visión que va a tener, cuál es el planteamiento de negocio. Es una idea, pero tiene que ser soportada siempre por alguien más que tenga otro tipo de visión para que con ambas se complemente. Entonces, como yo lo decía, no solamente puede ser un profesional quien sea tu mentor, puede ser inclusive hasta el mismo cliente. Cuando tú ya estás en una operación continua, el mismo cliente te puede dar una respuesta clara de las mejoras que puedes hacer en tu negocio. Puede ser algún profesor, si quieres verlo así, puede ser también algún otro compañero, inclusive hasta la misma competencia. Todos se pueden convertir en mentores porque se tiene una visión diferente. Y ese es el tema más importante, que nosotros debemos de estar más conscientes de que no vamos solos, sino que venimos en grupo, en equipo, y que tenemos que trabajar de esa manera para alcanzar los objetivos. Gracias.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing. So I do have more questions, and I'm going to ask a few more, and then I'm going to ask the audience to also, share their questions in the chat. All right. So what do resilient entrepreneurs do differently in the face of uncertainty? And do you feel that mentorship have a role to play in that?
yes, thank
Nancy,
you.
you can go first.
Oh, sure. Thank you. That's a great question. So, first of all, keep in mind that there's always uncertainty, particularly if you are starting a company. Because when you start a company, you are trying to create a new future. whether you're inventing a new skin cream or your climate change, you have a vision for what that future is going to look like, and you're inventing the future, which is unknown, and you're trying to persuade people to come along on that journey with you. So it is a world of uncertainty. So to some degree, you have to be embracing that uncertainty and knowing where it goes you. And you have to keep in mind that not everyone rushes to accept a visionary, no matter what the field. Do you know the singing group, of course, the Beatles from many years ago? It took them a number of years to find a recording company to put out their music because they kept getting rejected about the terrible sound. There was a student at Yale University in the US who wrote a term paper describing a company he wanted to start. He only got a grade of C from the teacher because the teacher said, this idea is not very feasible, so you can't get higher than a C. Guess what? That guy went on to start a company called Federal Express. And the paper was him describing that idea, but that professor couldn't see it. So my whole point is you're facing resilience. This is where the mentor can be incredibly helpful because they've kind of been there in their own careers. And also they're supporting you and helping you find your path through those challenges.
I could not agree more. Certainly, you have been there. And so, as young entrepreneurs, we will definitely be looking to our mentors to provide that sort of assistance in that phase of adversity and that phase of uncertainty. Right. So I want to ask Elizabeth to share what she believes, how mentorship and how entrepreneurs can do things differently in the face of uncertainty.
Yes, mentorship has been the catalyst for my entrepreneurial journey. I felt me to look beyond numbers and risks and to see opportunities. Mentoring ignited my confidence, by pushing me to believe that my voice, but as a woman and a professional, deserved to be heard. This guidance helped me transform a simple business idea into a vehicle for social impact, like the Tortipapel initiative to support migrants.
Okay, awesome. So one more question, Elizabeth. So do you have a resilience toolkit? And how can entrepreneurs build a personal resilience toolkit?
Yes, I think that, sure, it's something like a kit. Yes, a personal resilience toolkit is a set of strategies and habits that help you navigate through times. For me, it should include mindfulness practices, like taking time to reflect and stay grounded, a strong support network, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, also a physical well-being, prioritizing sleep, your nutrition, and exercise to keep your body and mind strong, learning from failure, like maintaining a growth mindset and seeing every setback as a lesson, and also setting small goals, just celebrating the small wins to maintain momentum and confidence. It's very
Awesome.
important.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. I love that you touched on, taking care of yourself personally and looking at, a growth mindset and, keeping yourself healthy, because that is so important in terms of in the face of, adversity and all of these things that we have to face as entrepreneurs. Nancy, what would you like to share regarding that as well? Do you have a personal resilience toolkit, and how, as entrepreneurs, can we create one?
Absolutely. I think one of them is don't view every conversation as a win-lose. It's an opportunity to learn something. And when you're constantly keeping score of losing or winning, it puts a lot of burden on you, and particularly in tough times. The other important thing, and we talk to entrepreneurs all the time about this, particularly those that are trying to raise money, is no does not always mean forever. It might mean not yet. And that's an opportunity always to go back and to continue the conversation. And then also know yourself and be honest about it, and know what your strengths are, and know where your areas for improvement are, and be seeking help for those. And I think if you're honest with yourself, that's the number one thing. You'll be very resilient. The other thing, of course, stay true to your principles.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I love that you said don't look at every conversation as a win or lose. That is so important. I'm writing down all of these gems because I'm going to be placing them in my office. And also you mentioned, as an angel investor yourself and being in banking and all of that over the years, you mentioned that not every no is forever. And I'm sure you have had situations where entrepreneurs have reached out to you and you said no, but it's not no forever. It's just no, not right now. Have you experienced situations like that where someone maybe asked you to invest or to be a mentor for them, and it was no, but it was not a no forever?
Yes, and this happens a lot because oftentimes the no means, it really does mean not yet. It's particularly in fundraising, because many fundraisers may invest when the company has a little what we call traction. So in other words, they'd like to see the company make a little more progress before they can invest. And that's usually not because they are making that up, but it's because that's how their funding is structured. They need to see the company make a little more progress. So one of the mistakes an entrepreneur can make is to scratch somebody off their list who said no, because they lose the opportunity to turn that no later into a yes. And this happens all the time.
Thank you so much.
I have seen people get funding 5 years after the original no from somebody.
Wow. That's awesome. All right. So as we get ready to sort of just wrap up the conversation and open the floor for our audience to ask their questions in the chat, I want to ask you, what's one piece of advice from a mentor that shaped your career?
I think I had a mentor one time told me he thought I was courageous. And this was something I hadn't thought about, but it has been carried with me now for 20 years, and something I think about, and sticking to principles.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, what's one piece of advice from a mentor that shaped your career?
Sí. I'm sorry, but people insist that I have to talk in Spanish. Uno de los consejos más importantes en mi vida ha sido escuchar a los demás, porque nosotros tenemos nuestras propias ideas, pero cuando escuchamos al prójimo, entendemos que no venimos solos a este mundo, somos parte de una comunidad y así tenemos que seguir.
Okay, gracias. Thank you. All right. So what's one advice, Elizabeth, that you would give for entrepreneurs here that are seeking to, find a mentor that will assist them, in their entrepreneurial journey? And you may be on mute, Elizabeth. You're on mute.
Sorry, yes. Absolutely. Mentorship can directly influence business growth by reframing problems. A mentor provides an outside perspective, helping you see challenges not as obstacles, but also as opportunities. The second could be strategic guidance. They can help you develop a clear business strategy, set realistic goals, and make better decisions. Another point could be expanding your network. Mentors can connect you with key people in the industry, opening doors, partnerships, and new clients. And also building confidence. When you have a trusted advisor, you are more likely to take calculated risks and seize opportunities.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm just scrolling through the chat and I'm seeing where persons are saying, they need a mentor. But I remember what Nancy mentioned earlier, that we don't just approach it like that. So I'm looking through the chat to find some more questions. But so guys, please write your questions in the chat so that we can ask our expert speakers today.
While you're looking for questions, I see a couple people say, I need a mentor. As I mentioned earlier, I would not approach someone and say, will you be my mentor? First of all, that sounds like a big ask from a stranger. What does that mean? It means a long-term relationship. Let that evolve over time. Get specific now about what you need to move forward and search for people who can help you that. Maybe one of them over time will become a mentor, but in the meantime, you will get that advice you need and you've built another good contact.
So Nancy, should entrepreneurs, for example, think about what they're looking for in a mentor before they approach someone? And they should, and you mentioned also that they should do their research, right? To see what this person is good at. Never go to someone and say, I saw your profile. Can you tell me more about you? Is that a turn off?
That is considered death because you haven't shown that you've done the work. The worst thing is when I've given somebody 20 minutes, an entrepreneur, to meet with the purpose of me hearing about their company, and they start off and say, so tell me about you. You didn't look me up? You didn't spend 5 minutes to look me up? Much better to say, I see you grew up in Chicago. My sister lives there. She loves it. Something like that. Or I see you worked at IBM. My father worked at IBM. Something that shows you took the time to learn about me rather than making me do the work of telling you all about me, if that makes sense.
It does. And I definitely understand because I've been in that situation before, so I completely understand where, not me, but where someone approached me and they're asking me to tell them more. And I just felt like you're giving me work. Just take the time to go and find the information out because, that was not appealing. So I completely understand. And I've been in a situation where I've done my research. I've seen a mentor in the field that I'm interested in, and I'm able to make conversation and make it light and not so taxing or, something that we will have to do. Right. So, and as you mentioned earlier as well, the best thing is to ask for advice. People love to give advice and it's free.
Right.
Yes. I do see
I see you're an expert in AI. We're building an AI tool. Could we have 20 minutes on your calendar to tell you about our product and see what thoughts you might have? That's a perfect start to something.
Awesome. I see some questions or some comments in the chat where persons are asking, how can they get a mentor? So maybe they're asking where they could find mentors. Also, they're asking about mentors in their particular area. I see someone talking about export fruits, and I think that's a challenge for some persons. Elizabeth, would you like to take that one?
Cabell. Yes, I would like to answer from Juan from Peru. Because Juan asked like 3 or 4 times the same question. It's
Okay, go
about
ahead.
the IMCAS. Es una empresa. I'm going to talk in Spanish. Es una empresa que habla de IMCAS con sede en Perú. Y a mí me gustaría darte esta respuesta. La pregunta que es, habla y dice que, ¿cómo puede una empresa como IMCA con sede en Perú y que integra construcción sostenible, e-commerce y participación ciudadana, aprovechar programas de mentoría gratuitos como los que existen en Mass Challenge o en Techstars para fortalecer su resiliencia y escalar su impacto tanto en la comunidad como en el mercado? Juan, gracias por esta oportunidad. Son 3 veces la pregunta y te la voy a responder. Para mí, la mentoría debe estar orientada a la resiliencia comunitaria. ¿Qué significa esto? Una capacitación técnica y sostenible, una educación financiera y digital, modelos de autogestión comunitaria. Un segundo punto pudiera ser, por ejemplo, la integración al e-commerce para escalar, ¿no? Meterte a lo que es un marketplace especializado, como por ejemplo los que ya tenemos en Latinoamérica, que es Mercado Libre o Amazon, canales de venta híbridos, que significa combinar las tiendas con digitales con una presencia física, los showrooms, como se dice, comunitarios. Puede ser también una certificación verde como valor diferencial, que significa, por ejemplo, poner los productos y servicios sustentables como algo premium, ¿no? Como los orgánicos que hemos estado viendo. Otro tercer punto pudiera ser la participación ciudadana como un motor de impacto. ¿Qué significa? Laboratorios urbanos, plataformas digitales de toma de decisiones, programas de mentoría social. Esto significa conectar los profesionales que pueden ser arquitectos, ingenieros, marketers, con comunidades que requieren apoyo, generando transferencia de conocimiento, por ejemplo. Y un último punto sería el escalamiento en comunidad y mercado, que puede ser un modelo replicable, alianzas estratégicas y medición y comunicación del impacto. Es decir, una conclusión rápida sería, los incas pueden usar la mentoría como un puente para enseñar, para conectar, para empoderar, al tiempo que el e-commerce y la participación ciudadana se convierten en herramientas de escalamiento. De esta manera, las empresas no solo ganan mercado, sino que también construyen una resiliencia social y ambiental en las comunidades donde están operando. Espero que haya resuelto tu pregunta.
Yes. Thank you. So Juan, I hope that answered your question. One more, I see another question from Fatima. Would you like to take that one as well?
I can answer a part of that for Fatima about the textile industry.
Yes.
First of all, I would do a search. Google is your friend here. There are quite a few investors and entrepreneur groups in textile industry, particularly with the importance of the sustainability of textile. So I would do 2 sources, one searching on Google as well as LinkedIn. There are groups of entrepreneurs that focus on textiles and fabrics, as well as investors that focus on textile and fabrics, and start joining these groups and communicating with those people. There are also accelerator programs that focus specifically on textiles. This is an important topic now for a number of reasons, of course, as you know. And then lastly, I would say that the link that I gave you, that I put in chat, has on it a link to Gary's guide. There are any number of entrepreneur meetups for textiles, and that's how, and some mentors attend. So I would start getting involved more broadly outside your own community with people who are doing new things in textile, and you will find the mentors you need from doing that kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. I think that's one of the main things for entrepreneurs. It's the difficulty in finding mentors in our particular area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
I
go
think
global on that. There are people, there are people who speak all kinds of languages in these groups. If you are looking for a mentor with a specific language, I would go global if you have a specific industry and you're not finding a lot of expertise in your local area. And use the internet for that.
okay. I know you shared a resource list earlier. So
Yes.
in that, would there be links that they can maybe
Yes. All
reach
those
out to
links
you?
are live and they should just explore and see if anything speaks to them. I would
Awesome.
also be
Thank
happy
you.
to answer specific questions. And my contact information is in that link that I sent.
Awesome. Because I see someone saying, they would like mentoring in e-commerce and working together.
Okay.
Yes. So they could click on the link, get your contact
Yes,
information
and
too.
also I would like to tell something else.
Yes, go ahead.
I look for a mentor who is honest. We have to look for a mentor who is honest, apathetic, and challenging. I need someone who not only has experience to guide me, but who is also willing to challenge my assumptions and push me outside my comfort zone. I also value a mentor who understands the importance of purpose beyond profit.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I see someone in the chat saying they want someone to give them a push when they try to give up, someone who will help them to move forward their ideas. Is that something that we should be looking for in a mentor?
Yes, you want somebody who's supportive of you, which means you need to impress them. So, sending somebody an email, will you be my mentor? It doesn't work. You have to have talked to them and they have to have been impressed and see something in you because they want to devote their time and energy with their honesty, as Elizabeth points out, to helping you. So it's not something like, a one-time mentorship. I need somebody to understand how this works in Canada. That's perfect. But if you want somebody giving you that push, helping you along the way, understanding your business, you're going to need to build a relationship with them. And so, it's better to start off with advice. And then if you like the person, ask them to meet again. And if they like you, they'll agree. And that's how it happens. It's like dating without the romance and without the drama.
Sure.
Yes.
And also a strong relationship is a two-way street. It's about respect, honesty, and proactivity. For example, respect their time, always be prepared for your meetings and arrive with a clear agenda, or take an action, show that you're taking their advice seriously by implementing it and reporting back on the results. Be honest, meaning share both your success and your failures. A mentor can't help you if you don't show them the full picture, and show gratitude. I think that is the most important point, and acknowledge their impact on your growth. A simple thank you can go a long way. Yes.
Sending a thank you note, as
important.
Elizabeth points out. You'd be surprised how many people don't do that when somebody spends an hour on the phone with them and you never hear from them again.
Oh,
So
wow.
if they then write you back, will you be my mentor? What would your answer be?
No. Yes. So I think that's actually a great point for us to start or wrap up on in terms of, being grateful. I'm definitely grateful today to have been a part of this conversation and to basically have this information with me, that you all shared. So I want to thank you. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Elizabeth, for being here with us today. And thank you for sharing all of that information that you shared with us, those gems. And I do feel also that we may have persons right here in the YLI network and alum group that are also able to offer mentorship. I see where someone was saying that they're in AI and they would be interested. So I think it's important that we also use our networks to look for mentors if that's something that we're seeking, because we may be able to find other entrepreneurs that have, a little further along in their journey that could provide support for us as well. So once again, I am so I'm extremely grateful for all the gems that you have shared. I am definitely keeping some of them very close to me as well. You know, especially as you mentioned, don't look at every conversation as a win or lose. And definitely just how we can approach mentorship and, you know, finding a mentor. It was truly empowering. You know, the conversation was truly empowering. I want to thank you, Nancy, and thanks again to Elizabeth. And a big thank you to the YLI for, you know, creating this space where you can share, where we can all share in the entrepreneurial journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cavell.